Alright, so we'll be starting percents today. So this is for Monday, May 18th. And percents is actually Unit 7 in your textbook. Okay, so we'll be spending 2 days. So this week will be percents again on Monday and then Friday the 22nd. And then we actually don't have class on the 25th. That is a holiday. And then we'll be spending the remaining time for math on drug calculations. So it's all kind of leading up to that. Alright, so what are percents? So again, it's another way of looking at a part to a whole relationship. Okay, so the parts of 100 is basically always your denominator when we're talking about percents. Okay, so again, I'm sure you all know the percent sign. So if we look at it, if we're looking at 35% there at the very end, the different ways of looking at that are 35 parts of 100 or 35 over 100, which equals 35%. Okay, so that part of I'll kind of explain coming up on how it helps us determine when we have like a problem, when we're trying to figure out a percent of a certain amount of something in a relationship. Alright, so we'll be looking at how to go from a percent to a decimal, and then also how to go from a decimal to a percent. Okay. Alright, so when we are looking at shifting, when we're looking at going from a percent to a decimal, we're basically looking at shifting the decimal point 2 places to the left. Okay, so it kind of skips the step of dividing by 100 because that's always what you're working with, is at 100. So if we look at 80%, a way of converting that then to a decimal is 0.8. Okay, or you would take the 80 and divide it by 100. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So we do 80 divided by 100 is 0.8 or 0.80. I mean, you can put as many zeros as you like behind it. So think of that as moving your 2 decimal places over to the left. So if a percent has a fractional part, the decimal then occurs in between the whole number and the fraction part. Alright, so we would have 33 1/3%, and then they're kind of showing like the next step of putting the decimal in between, and then again losing the whole percent, and eventually this would actually be or 0.333333. Okay, because a third is 0.33. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So 33 1/3% is really 0.33333, repeating. Alright, so that's when we're going from percent to decimal. So try to get that straight in your head. Think of maybe just imprint that 80% to 0.8. Okay, you're moving 2 decimal places to the left, dividing by 100. And then when we go the other way, when we're going from decimal to percent, then we're actually moving 2 decimal places to the right, or multiplying by 100. Okay, so that would be, we're starting with decimals, we're moving to percent, so we're going to just move 2 decimal places over to the right. So we're going to take that 0.023 and multiply it by 100, and then that would give us that 2.3%. So you'll have lots of practice with your homework problems to be doing this. Alright, this is where it gets just a little bit more complicated, I guess, when we're looking at using proportions to solve percent problems. Okay, so this is called the is of method. So we have, let me get my little handy dandy pen out here. So we have the is of method. is or of. All right, and one of the ways that I kind of draw this, and we actually do this in class, is I go ahead and I put this on chart paper, and I'm just kind of making a table here basically. Okay, so you have one part here on the left and another part here on the right. And we actually make this chart, and then I put it on the wall so you can reference to it, of course, covering it up when you're taking an exam. But so we're looking at the percent of 100. So something is part of the whole. Okay, so the is part always goes above the of. Okay, so and always on the bottom left is the 100, the number 100, and then the percent is always above. Okay, so this will make sense here in just a minute. So another way of thinking about this is the I comes before an O in the alphabet. Okay, so the I is always on the top before the O. If you're trying to help, remember, because it's going to come in importance here when you're solving problems here coming up. Okay. All right. So moving forward. Actually, I have a blank screen here, but I'll go ahead and write this one out. I'm just looking at this thinking I should have put a blank screen someplace else. But so using the proportion again to solve these percent problems. So what I'm trying to get at is you're going to use this to set up these different types of problems. So let's say we're looking at what is, it's actually on our next page, but what is 25% what is 25% of 75? Okay, excuse the crude writing here again. All right, so what is 25% of 75? Okay, so this is where that kind of little table thing kind of comes into play here. You can kind of draw this out. Okay, some of the things that I kind of know already. I'm going to put my 100 down here. I'm going to put my percent is up here. Okay, here is my is. Remember, my I comes before my O, and my of. All right. Okay, so now I get to fill in kind of like my little box here and figure out what am I solving for. Okay, so the 100 is always going to be there. So what is 25%? So that's going to go here. Okay, of, so your of 75 then is going to go here. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So this is why this little table thing kind of helps you to solve this problem, so you know exactly what you're dividing by what and what you're multiplying and where to put everything. Okay, so you're kind of showing these proportions here. Okay, so 25% of 100 is the same as what of 75. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to cross multiply. You're going to multiply the 75 by the 25. Okay, you're going to multiply those out, and you're going to get 18. Oh my goodness, I have such a hard time with the 8s. 1875 is going to be your number. Okay. Okay, 1875, and then you're going to have to divide by 100. So what did we say before a couple slides back? If we're going to divide then by 100, because we're converting this to percent basically to a decimal, we're going to go ahead and we're going to just, I'm sorry, we're going to convert a, so never mind about the part about converting. Just what you need to do here, excuse me, is, okay, so you got the 75 times the 25, and then you're just going to divide by 100 like you would normally do in a equation that's set up like this. So then when you go ahead and divide this out, you're going to have 18, I mean the rule just applies on what you do a division of dividing by 100. You're going to just move 2 decimal places over to the left. Okay, so you're moving your 2 decimal places over 1, 2, and this is going to turn into 18. Here's my lousy percentage sign. 18.75%. Okay, all right. Hopefully that wasn't too terribly bad. So on the next slide here, you're going to kind of see this is exactly what I was talking about. Okay, so we looked at the problem. What is 25% of 75? And so we set it up the way I showed you. The 25 over 100 equals what over 75? Now I know that looks simple enough, but you need to figure out, you know, where to put all these numbers, okay? And that's why that little chart's helpful. So then we have, if we work it the other way, okay, so we got the answer of 18.75%, but now let's flip it the other way. What percent of 75 is 18.75? Okay, so this time we are trying to solve for the percent. Okay, so remember how we had like the percent over the 100? Oh my goodness, over the 100. So this is what we're trying to solve for this time. This is basically our x. Okay, and then we have the 18.75 over 75 as the so this is our x. This is what we're trying to solve for on the right side of our equation. So it just kind of shows you the 3 different ways really on what you're trying to solve for, with the 100 always being constant on the left side on the bottom, okay, and then the percent being on the top, and then your is above your of. So here's a YouTube video link. It's called Solving Percent Problems Using Proportions. It's called the Flip F-L-I-P lesson. So it's another supplemental video to help you understand that concept. Okay, so I'm coming back to this slide. So this might be a little bit out of sequence, but this was like the last problem that I kind of wanted to do. It was one of your homework problems. Again, it's on page 178, and it's a little bit, well, pretty much the same as the last one. We're looking at taking 5 1/3. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, guys. Let's see. So we're taking 5 1/3, putting it over 100. No, I'm sorry. We're looking at 5 1/3% of. Okay, what is 5 1/3% of? Which actually we will be putting it over 100 of 125. Okay. So we're asking what is 5 1/3% of 125. So we're going to look at setting it up how we did before, and we're going to turn this into an improper fraction. So this will be 16 over 3. Just don't forget to do that one last step, okay? So 16 over 3, basically over 100. So this is your percent. And then we have our is and our of. So what is what we're solving for, the is. and 125 being over the of, or being the of, sorry, being the of. All right. Okay. So you're going to go ahead now and you're going to take 16 over 3 times 125. So you're going to do the cross multiplication. Okay. So you have the 16 over the 3 times 125. Remember, over 1. So, and then we end up getting 2,000 over 3. Okay. Then when we do the division on that, we actually get 666. Oh my goodness. 0.67. But don't forget, this is where a lot of people kind of make a mistake, where they don't, that verse 6 really stunk, where they don't finish it. They'll just leave the problem there. You need to finish it, okay? So you need to do what? You need to divide by your 100, okay? So dividing by 100, you're making this smaller. You're making 666.67 smaller. So you're going to turn it into 2 places over. So it's going to be 6.67. Remember, you can round up now. Okay, so that's what's going into your is 6.67. Okay. And it says to round to the nearest hundredth. Okay, so 6.67. So we're looking at that as, what is 5 1/3% of 125? Okay, so 5 1/3% of 125 is 6.67. Okay, so hopefully you're doing okay with that. Let me go ahead and move forward on this slide. So you have that video to help you, and then I don't know what happened to all my scribbling on this slide. It went away, but if you go to page 178, the 8 1/3 over 100 equals x over 150. That is written out for you in the example box. So I'm not going to torture you and have you watch me scribble that out again. All right, thanks so much. Okay, so that pretty much wraps it up for that. Actually, it looks like I might have more time left on this now. I'm going to go ahead and stop this for a second and try to go back to a different slide. I wanted to do one more problem for you. So I'm going to stop